So a few friends and I were walking in New Orleans, Louisiana, and there was music and people and all these things going around. And in the corner of my eye, I saw this man dressed very nicely. He had a typewriter and a stand, and it said, "Poets for Hire. You pick the topic, and I'll write the poem." So he wrote the poem, and it was very interesting to read. It felt like a part of me was in it. I think story has that effect on us. It connects us to ourselves and to other people in a very intimate way. The attraction to story, I think, is something like a Where's Waldo puzzle. We want to find ourselves somewhere in it. It's like when someone tells a good joke and you lean in to hear it. I think it's very human to do that because we want to know that people experience the same things we do and that we're not alone. For that reason, people have been telling stories for a very long time, from oral traditions to paintings and different stories. And throughout the years, that medium has evolved. And as a filmmaker, one thing I'm particularly passionate about is telling stories through film. Now, I think film is an interesting medium because it completely envelops you. It mixes sight and sound. When you get into a theater, you can't help but be engulfed by it. And while it's powerful, it can't fix a bad story. I don't know if you know of the film The Room, but it's considered by many as one of the worst films of all time. It was created with a $6 million budget. And the funny thing is, The Room resonates a lot with the modern media in the sense that it leaves you wondering what just happened. Let me show you a clip.
Hi.
Can I help you?
Hi. Yeah, can I have a dozen red roses, please?
Oh, hi, Johnny. I didn't know it was you. Here you go.
That's me. How much is it?
It'll be $18.
Here you go. Keep the change. Hi, doggy.
You're my favorite customer.
Thanks a lot. Bye.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
The best films are obviously not that, but the ones that can connect with you. For some reason, E.T. connected with me as a kid, even though I was absolutely terrified of it. But every time I see a bicycle at night, I kind of want to fly, if that makes any sense. Practically speaking, we achieve really good films like E.T. When we have a combination of two things: a good story or a good script that has good conflict and good characters, and that story told well. One without the other creates an end weak result. My friend James, who worked at a hospital, understood that he had an end weak result because he had one element and not the other. He would see these miraculous things happening every day of people getting transplants and surgeries. But there was a disconnect between what he was seeing in real life and what was being filmed. So he hired his friend John, and John knew that the stories were very powerful. And so he thought that he just needed to make a way for people to feel them. One way he did that was by having the interviewees look directly into the camera, and somehow that connected with audience members. So much so that the videos on the aggregated website went from a few thousand views to 6 million in one alone. He understood that, like a lot of good storytellers, that a good story comes when you look at the script. So by looking at the script, you know what to do. You listen to it, and in a sense, you honor it. And you get something which at the time was very innovative, the Blair Witch Project. If you know nothing about the Blair Witch Project, it's about these 3 students who go to try to find this local mystery murder. Instead of shooting it like a normal horror film at the time, they did something very edgy, some would say. They actually shot most of it on a cheap consumer camcorder. And why? Why would they do something like that? I mean, they made it with $600,000, and they made $248 million in return. And I think it worked because the crappy camera was what was needed to tell the story, and to make it real and scary, and for it to connect with people. Peers in my industry spend a lot of time debating on film versus digital and what technology to implement, but that doesn't necessarily make for a better film. Take Transformers 2, for example. Lots of explosion CGI, and it's fun, but it's not necessarily a good film. On the other hand, sometimes you need Hollywood glam to tell a story well. These guys that created Inception created this gigantic rotating rig for one of their scenes. To augment a story that otherwise would be very unrealistic, they told it in a kind of very visually realistic way. So I guess what I'm saying is, the point is, stories are what matter, not techniques and not trends. One of my favorite scenes that I've shot to date was shot with a few Christmas lights, and it was important to me because the story mattered to me, not because of what I was doing. Anyway, we don't need stories in order to survive, but I think it makes life a little better. To laugh and to cry, to remind us that we're human, and Jedi, and explorers, and aliens. Stories have the power to transform us, and I honestly think it can change the course of our lives. Back in November, a few friends and I that are here recreated the Poets for Hire stand. And it was there that I met Eddie, who runs PechaKucha, and his wife, Rebecca. And if it wasn't for meeting them there, I wouldn't be here talking to you right now. So I guess what I have to say is, let story lead you to unexpected places. Seek it out. Is it hiding somewhere, behind a tree, behind a rock, behind the teenage version of yourself that used to write songs, or the unpublished book idea that you have? I think each and every one of you have a story, and I think you should tell it, and tell it well. Thank you very much.